Okay, so sometimes I'm going to be talking to you, all the people in the group, and sometimes I'm going to be talking to the teachers, okay? And the rest of you can listen to both when I'm talking to the group and when I'm talking to the teachers, okay? All right. Normally when I do this, I know the kids very well already, and we have already been working together on becoming better readers. But since I'm just meeting you for the first time today, I want to ask you if you're interested in becoming a better reader. Is that something that you want to do? You want to become a better reader? Yeah? Does that mean that you're just not good enough right now? Can everybody become a better reader? How about a grown-up? Can a grown-up become a better reader? Yeah. And you know, when you read a book, when you're learning to read and you're working on your reading skills, you want to make sure that the book is just right for you. Did Miss McGinn tell you that? You need to have a book that's just right for you. So sometimes I tell the kids in my group that each person has to do what's right for them, right? For example, do you see the size of my shoes? Can I see the size of your shoe? You stick up your shoe here. Which one's bigger? Yours. Yours. So let me ask everybody a question. Am I better than Aisha because my shoes are bigger? No. Does that mean I'm better? No. No. So should I wear Aisha's size shoes? No. Should she wear my size shoes? No. No. It's the same way with choosing the just right book. You have to choose the one that's just right for you. If it's too hard, you're not going to be able to learn what you need to learn. You'll just be overwhelmed because you'll be making so many mistakes and you'll be thinking, I have no idea what this book is even about. And if you choose one that's so easy, like you read it 100 times already, or you used to read it when you were in kindergarten, even if you love it, that's great. But that's not the book that's going to help you get to be a better reader. Just something you read for your pleasure and enjoyment. Okay. Now, Miss McGinn showed me something. You recognize this? No. Did you ever see Miss McGinn writing on a paper like this? Yes. You did? She read with each person. Let's see. I have all your names right here. You read a book to Miss McGinn, and she listened to you read. And what did she do? Can you talk really loud for everybody?
She was like taking like checks, like how we can become better readers and checking them as soon as we're reading right.
Yes, there are a lot of checks. Here, let me make a check. There are a lot of checks like this. What do you think it means when Miss McGinn puts a check on her paper?
It means it's good. It means it's good or it's right.
Yeah, that's the correct. You read the word correctly. And sometimes she wrote something else. So what do you think she wrote? For example, this was a word that was in the book. And the person said this. Can everybody see that? This is the word that was in the book, and this is the word that the person read. Let me get these checks out of the way so you can see. Does anybody notice something? Elias, do you notice something? What do you notice?
The bottom doesn't have an S, and the top has an S.
So what did the reader do? This was the book. This was the reader.
The reader was spelling something else.
Well, the reader was reading, and so they said the word with an S, right? But did the book really have an S?
No.
No. So teachers, the way I think about this is that there are no secrets. Who's in charge of you becoming a better reader? Who's in charge of the learning to become a better reader? You are. Who's in charge of you becoming a better reader? Us? How about you? Each person is in charge of their own reading. Well, what's the teacher's job? Can you say that really loud? To teach you how, to help you, right? But did you know that you can also help yourself? And did you know that you can help each other? Learn to be better readers. So I think about it as no secrets. There are teachers, everywhere doing running records, and only they have privy to the information. And maybe they'll tell the student what level they come out at or how many errors or something like that. But how would you like it if you learn how to do a running record? Would you like to be the one to do the running record? Okay, I'm going to do it first, and I'm going to teach you how to do it. Then you'll know. Then anybody in your class can do a running record on any friend. And the person who's volunteering to read is the biggest helper of all. So everybody in the circle right now, could you thank this group because they're the ones doing the work for you so you can learn? Could we
Thank
just
you.
say thank you? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for helping us. All right. Here's another thing that's a no secret thing. Did you know that there are rules about reading? I really feel like a lot of kids aren't sure. How am I supposed to know that I can't put an S if there's no S? Or what if I see a book about a rabbit and I want to call it a bunny? Is that okay? Did you know that there are actually some rules about reading? Not really. I mean, teachers are teaching you skills like how to break words apart and things like that, strategies. But I'm not sure you ever thought about how there are some rules about reading, and if you don't follow the rules, you're really not reading. Remember when you were little? And sometimes you get a book, and maybe you have it backwards, maybe you have it upside down, or maybe you look at the pictures and you tell what's happening in the pictures. But was that actually reading?
No.
Right, so then when you got older, you started to figure out how letters work, how words work, how sentences work, how stories work, how true books with information work. So now I'm going to share with you something that helps my student. There are actually rules for reading. And we don't need to learn all of them in one day. But I'm going to show you a few of them that maybe you knew about and maybe you didn't even know about. So when you were a little kid and you were looking at the pictures and you were making up the story, you thought you were reading when you were 4 years old. Do you remember that? When you were a little girl, maybe 3 or 4, did you think you were reading when you were just making up what the story was? Yeah. Okay, so the first rule is you can't make it up. Did you know that? When you're reading, you can't make it up. When you're writing, you can. You can write your own story. But when you're reading, you can't make it up. You have to read the words the author wrote for you. So if Elias writes a story and Aiden reads it, can she change his words or does she have to read the words he wrote? Yeah, yes. You can't make it up. You have to read the words the author wrote for you, so don't forget. This one, everybody thinks the kids know this, but really, some kids don't realize reading is always supposed to make sense. Did you know that?
Yes.
Okay, well then, if you knew that, what happens if it doesn't make sense?
It doesn't sound right.
But is that okay? So what do you do if it doesn't make sense? You could fix it. So this number 3 rule is if what you're reading doesn't make sense, it's your job, since you're the reader, it's your job to figure out what is wrong and fix it. Is it Miss McGinn's job to say, oh, you made a mistake. That word is supposed to be rabbit, not bunny. Is it Miss McGinn's job to fix your mistakes when you're reading? No, it's the reader's job. So these are really important. I'm going to skip number 4 for now. I'm going to skip number 5 for now. This happens a lot. If you see a part of a word you know, you have to say that part when you get to it. Sometimes, I don't know why, but sometimes kids forget to do that. For example, if you see this word, do you know how to say this part? Say it really loud. Un. Un. So are you allowed to say pinch? Because that would have in. If you know how to say un, you have to say un when you get to it in the word. So that's really important. Oh, this is interesting. In English, in our language, you always have to read from left to right, this way. This way. Make your hand go like this. This way. Left to right. If you live in a different country like Israel, you actually would go the other way. That's the way their language works. But in English, you have to read from left to right. So, in this word, there's no to in got. Because if somebody says to, or thinks this says to, what did they do? They flipped it, and you're not allowed to flip the word. You have to always read them from the left to the right. This rule is number 8. You can't change the order of the letters. For example, form is not the same as from. Because form has OR and from has R and then O. Do you know a lot of kids write, let me see, so Aisha, they might write, Aisha is a nice grill. What's a grill?
A grill is what you cook on.
Yeah, what you cook on. But what happens when somebody says grill instead of girl? Let me see if one of these markers is darker. Oh, these are the markers from last year. Miss McGinn get any new markers this year? This is a little darker, right? Especially in writing, I see kids write this, when really what they mean is this. Do you notice the mistake? Okay, let's see if that, ooh, that's a good one. Do you notice the mistake? So when somebody does that, what rule are they breaking?
The word.
Let's say the rule. Let's read it really loud. You always have to read from left to right. That's backwards. That's turned around or flipped. Right. Okay. And we talked about you can't change the order of the letters. My students make this mistake a lot. You're only allowed to make sounds for letters you see. You're not allowed to make sounds for letters you don't see. That sounds pretty simple, but a lot of kids put letters in when they're not really there. So that goes along with this rule. Can you read this rule for us?
You can't make up have to read the words the author wrote.
You can't make it up. When you're reading somebody else, an author's words, you have to read the author's words that that author chose. They could have chosen to write bunny, but they didn't. They chose to write rabbit, so you have to read rabbit. And the last one. Elias, can you read it with me? are not allowed to ignore letters and words.
All the letters have a job to do.
All the letters have a job to do. Sometimes a letter's job, like, what happens if I put this letter here? What's the job of this letter?
It makes an E sound.
So, what's this word? Elias, what's this word?
Tone.
How did you know it was tone? There's an E at the end, and she said the E would make the E sound.
Because the E is silent.
Oh, the E is silent. So, are you allowed to ignore the E even though it's silent? You are not allowed to ignore letters in words. All the letters have a job to do. Sometimes a letter's job is to be silent. Sometimes a letter is working together with other letters, but you're not allowed to ignore any of the letters. So that's a lot of rules for one day. With my students, I wouldn't go over all the rules in one day. But without that E there, it's going to say ton. Like I bought a ton of candy for Halloween. But with the E there, even though it's silent, the job is it's making the word say tone. This is right. Okay. Now, another thing that's hard for me since I don't know you is I don't know exactly what level of book you are reading. What's exactly right for you. So let's just try one. Let's try this one, since I was talking about a rabbit. And I said, if it says rabbit in the book, you can't call it a bunny, right? And let me see which rules we're going to need. Let's see how it goes, and we might need to get some more rules out. All right. For today, what we're going to do is let one person at a time read for us. And we're going to think about what's happening when the reader is reading. Would you like to do that? Who would like to volunteer to be the reader? Leah's want to? Okay. So put your book down flat. Everybody can see where you are. We're going to follow with our eyes, or if you need to, you can point to stay with Elias. First of all, let's see what the title is.
Saving Popo. Popo was Ben's little brown rabbit.
Okay, stop for a second. When I want to be polite and ask you to wait so I can get caught up, I'm going to say, wait please. Okay? Can you remember to say that? So we'll be polite and just say, wait please. That's what I do when I'm doing a running record. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you the name. I have to give credit. I did not make up the idea of writing these rules. The name of the person who had the idea to write up all these rules, her name was Deborah Litt. And she wrote an article in a magazine for teachers called The Reading Teacher all the way back in 2007. When I read the article, I thought, that's a great idea. I'm going to try it. And I've been using it ever since. And the person who invented the running record idea, do you know who that was? It wasn't me, and it wasn't Miss McGinn. The woman who came up with the idea for a running record is named Marie Clay. Can you say that? Marie Clay. And she lives in New Zealand. Do you have any idea where New Zealand is in the world? It's near Australia. She was trying to figure out a way to help kids who were having a hard time learning to read. So she thought this was a great idea, and I agree. I think it really helps teachers figure out how your reading is coming along, and now I'm teaching you how to do it, just like Marie Clay. Okay, here we go. Elias, start over, please, since we have to stop and talk.
Popo was
Uh-oh. Where's my good mark? I'm sorry. I meant to bring my Granny marker. It would show up. Let's see if that works. keep going, please.
Hoppo was Ben's little brown rabbit.
Okay, wait, please. Okay.
Little brown rabbit. She lived outside in a cage on the grass. Every morning, Ben put.
Okay, wait, please. Something really great just happened. Okay.
Ben put new straw in Hoppo's house. He pulled some carrots.
Okay, wait, please. Sorry, a little more time. Okay, let's stop right there so we can talk about what I did. I'm sorry it's kind of messy. The board is sliding around. When you do a running record, if it's a little messy, that's okay. Do you notice? Look at Miss McGinn's writing. Sometimes when teachers are writing quickly, they write messy, and that's okay. This is not a piece of work that she's going to publish or something like that. Okay, so the three of you are going to help Elias, and Elias is going to help himself also, figure out what happened while he was reading. So let's see. The word on the bottom is the word in the book, just the way it is in the book, Hoppo. And this is what the reader says on top. And I draw a line so you can see what did the reader say and what did the book say. What did you notice, Praise?
That this word has two pieces.
Yeah. So would you pronounce that differently?
Hoppo.
I'm really thinking about rule number 1. Oh no, it was rule number 2. Another thing teachers is I usually either hang these on the wall or I have it on a ring and I flip it. And I have a smaller version, I have a larger one and a smaller one. Okay, let's read this rule. Reading is always supposed to make sense. And Hoppo could be the name of the rabbit. We're just talking about the name of a rabbit. But what do rabbits do? Elias, what do rabbits do?
They run, hop, eat carrots, and
Yeah, they, did you say, what was the second one you said? You said they run, hop, eat. So which of those things that rabbits do help the author come up with a fun name for the rabbit? Eat, run, hop.
hop.
So I'm thinking, I might be wrong, but I'm thinking that the author is saying that the rabbit's name is
Hoppo.
Hoppo. So that's not a big mistake, but that's, I think it's supposed to be Hoppo. Okay, do you notice what he did with the next word? Aiden, what did he do when he read the next word? What does the check mean?
The check right is correct.
Yeah, so Hoppo was, what happened here? Who wants to tell us? Aiden, you tell us. Remember, the bottom word is what the book says. The top word is what the reader says. So we can say it like this. Elias, I noticed that the book said Ben's, and you said Ben. So Elias, what happened there?
I got confused.
Well, I'm not sure if you got confused, but I think you left out a letter. Do you remember that rule about you're not allowed to ignore any of the letters in a word? Do you remember that rule? Okay, so which letter did you ignore?
S.
Yeah, so you just ignored the S. So how would you fix that since it's your job to fix it?
Here it says put an S on it.
Yeah, because it belongs.
To Ben.
Yeah, Hoppo belongs to Ben. Hoppo is Ben's rabbit. Okay, Hoppo was Ben's What was this word? Do you remember, Aisha? Hoppo, where are we? Hoppo was Ben's little brown rabbit. She lived
outside.
Look at all the words he got correct. Correct, correct, correct. Correct, correct, correct. See how many words you got correct there? A lot. And then, oh, this was, I said something really good was happening here. You did make a mistake, but what was the really good thing he did? What did he do?
I put it S-E-S-C.
First, you put a letter there that wasn't there. Are you allowed to say a letter that's not there? No, that's one of the rules. You're not allowed to say a letter if it's not there. You're also not allowed to ignore a letter. But, do you know why I put SC? Let me see if Miss McGinn ever put SC on your running record from the other day. Look at this. Right here. You see the SC? This is really good news. Did anybody tell Elias that he made a mistake?
No.
Who told Elias that he made a mistake? You. And then what did you do? You fixed it, right? You noticed it and you fixed it. And those are following the rules. When something doesn't make sense, it's your job to fix it because you're the reader. So the SC means self-correct. Can you say that? Self-correct. It means he corrected the mistake all by himself. No teacher told him, no friend told him. He didn't leave it as a mistake and keep going. He noticed, oh, didn't even slow him down. He fixed it really fast. Okay, self-corrections are great. And then correct, 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 correct. And then he said hopo again instead of hopo. But overall, this is really good. So this is what I do since I'm the teacher, and I'm going to teach you how to do it. Let's count how many words you got correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I think he got 20. I'm drawing a line, and on the bottom I'm going to put how many words did he read all together. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Out of 24. This we say out of. This line here tells us out of how many in the whole reading that he did.
24.
He got 20 out of 24. Is that close? Is 20 close to 24?
Yes.
Yeah. So he had, if you see an E, that means how many errors did he have? An error is another word for a mistake. So how many mistakes did you have?
4.
So the errors were 4. The self-corrections were?
20.
Now how many self-corrections did you make? How many times did you correct yourself? 1. So we write that down so we could remember. We know that the one on the top is how many you got correct. The one on the bottom is how many altogether. And I'm going to give you credit for this one not being a mistake because you fixed it. All right? So you really got 21 words correct out of 24. This is called your accuracy. Anybody ever heard of that word, accuracy? You have to be accurate when you're reading. That means you have to read it correctly. Don't make a lot of mistakes. If you do make a lot of mistakes, maybe you can fix them all by yourself right then and there. Then they don't even count as a mistake. You have a question? You heard the word before? Great. There are lots of other things that you'll work on with your reading too, like your fluency. You want to make sure you're not reading too choppy or too slowly. But for accuracy, the running record is a great thing. So who would like to try to do a running record right now? Sit in my place and I'll help you. You want to do it? Okay. Is it Aisha or Aisha? Aisha, you're going to sit in my chair. Do you write with your right hand? Okay. And I'll try to help you with the board so it doesn't wiggle so. Okay, and who wants to be the reader? You got to be the reader last time, so who wants to? Praise, you want to? Can you read nice and loud? Let's continue. You don't have to read the same thing he read. Let's go to page 3. So, Aisha, if he reads the word correctly, you're going to put a check. If he makes a mistake, I'll help you with how to write it. If you want to stand up, too, you can. Okay, Praise. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. I thought we were... Are you on page 3? Yeah. At the top? Okay. Can you move your hand so I can see? All right. Point to the first word. All right. There you go.
Every morning.
Okay.
Ben put new straw in Otto's house.
Okay. Will you tell him, wait, please? Can you say it louder? Why are you saying, wait, please? Because you need to catch up. That's right. So we're going to check with the book. He said, every morning, Ben put new, okay, put a check for new. He said that correctly. Straw, is that correct? Straw? Yeah. Papa's house. So check, check, check. I think one more. In Papa's house. And you can put a period here because he did stop. Do you know, sometimes people don't stop when there's a period. And you know that rule about you can't ignore the letters in words? You really can't ignore periods either. So what I would do if he kept going and didn't stop when there was a period, I'd put a big circle to let you know that you forgot to stop at the period. But you didn't forget to stop. So I'm putting the period there. Okay, we'll do one more sentence and then we'll count it up.
He pulled some carrots out of the...
Okay, Praise, can you wait for a second? Let's get caught up and then I'm going to show you what to do when he's thinking about that word. He said he pulled some carrots out of the... okay. He pulled some carrots out of the... Okay. Now he's thinking about this word. Can you write the word he's working on right here? On the bottom? Okay, he did not make a mistake yet. He didn't even say anything yet, right? He didn't say the wrong sound. He didn't ignore any letters. But I can put a little symbol here for myself. That tells me that he was waiting or he was thinking, he was pausing. So he didn't say anything yet. Okay, hold this and let's see what he's going to do. All right, go ahead. Elias, look at him and let's see what he's going to do. Look at the word in his book. Can you make the first sound? Say it again. G. You said G. Okay, that's correct. Let's put a G for G because you said that. Okay, keep going with that word. Well, that's the name of the letter. Is A. Okay. Keep going. Keep working. Well, look at him while he's working. Aaliyah, look at him while he's working. Aiden. Look at him because this is what teachers have to do. They have to look at the person while they're thinking and figure out if they're working through the word or if they're completely stuck. Is he trying? Is he working? Aiden and Elias. look at his face. Can you tell if he's thinking? Look at his mouth. Is he trying to make some sounds? So he's working on it. He's not giving up. He's not just sitting there like, I have no idea, so I'm just going to sit here and maybe the teacher will tell me what it is. Is he doing that, Elias? Is he just saying, I'm just going to sit here and do nothing and then maybe the teacher will tell me? No, he's working. I can tell. I can tell by his face. I can tell his eyes are like thinking, and I can tell his mouth is trying to make some sounds. So make a try, Praise. What do you think that word is? And because I stopped you and we talked a lot, maybe you don't remember the words that came before it. You can go back and go back to here and read these again. Maybe that'll help you with this. So let's go back to the beginning of this sentence. Good. You found the beginning of the sentence. Good. He pulled some carrots out of the Look at it. And another clue is don't look around the room, really. You shouldn't. I don't think anything around the room is going to help you. The book is going to help you. You guys, don't give up on him. Look at him. Is he doing it? Is he working? What did you say? I can't hear you. Can you hear it? Can you hear what he said? Crate?
Grade.
Grade? Grade. Okay, so now you need to write grade. You know how to write grade? G, R, A, D. And maybe a silent E at the end to make that A sound like A. Grade. E. Silent E. There we go. Grade. Okay, teachers. Let's analyze what Praise did here. And think about the rules we talked about. Grade is what he said. And what did the book say? Garden. Let's circle the place where he did something that made it a mistake. Tell me the letters. Thank you. I'm gonna circle the R-A, and let's look at what the book said. G-A-R. So I'm gonna circle these two and see if Praise can figure out what happened, since it's your job to fix it.
I put something backwards.
Yeah, so you had two letters,
I put it backwards.
flipped them. Yeah, it's like reading backwards. What was that rule that we talked about? Where you can't
switch it.
You can't change the order of the letters, and you also have to read this way. You can't be reading along and decide to go the other way for some of the letters, right? So let's try again. G, R, then. Do you know that word? Put it together. What's the word? Garden. Can you put it together and make a word? Garden. Now let's see if that makes sense. Remember, reading is always supposed to make sense. He pulled some carrots out of the garden. Does that make sense? Could you pull some carrots out of the garden? Yeah. Now, if he fixed that by himself, who remembers what we would put? What would I put right here if he fixed it all by himself? S. And what does that, you can put a little comma if you want to separate the SC from the word. What does that mean, Aiden? The SC, do you remember? It stands for self-correct. He corrected it by himself. If he corrected it by himself, it means self-correction. Got it? And in the end, when we count, we'll count how many self-corrections. Miss McGinn showed me the running record she did for you guys last week. Let me see. Aiden, you made 5 self-corrections. That means 5 times you almost had a mistake, but you fixed it. That's important. Aisha, you made 1 self-correction. Praise, you made 5 self-corrections. Elias, you made 3 self-corrections. Sometimes kids read and they make mistakes and they never have any self-correction. That's a problem, isn't it? Why is that a problem? What's the rule that that kid is breaking when they keep reading and making mistakes? Well, one thing they're breaking is this one.
If you are reading, don't make...
If what you're reading doesn't make sense, it's your job, since you're the reader,
As the reader
to figure out what is wrong and
fix it.
Good. Now the next thing I would do, just for the teachers, is usually the kids are fighting to be the one to do this, and they're also fighting to be the one to read. When I'm an ESOL teacher, so when I pick up kids and we're walking down the hall, they say, "Can we do a running record today?" And one will say, "I want to do the running record," and the other person will say, "I want to be the reader." So everybody wants to do it. So then the next step is to have everybody else do it on paper while the one is doing it on board. And you can keep adding more of the coding. For example, what if Praise, instead of taking a long time to figure it out in his head before he said anything out loud, what if he kept saying g, g, g? I would write g, g, g. What if he said, what if he did this? What if he couldn't figure this out? So he went back to the beginning and read it over. Then I could put a little arrow to show that he did that. And then, if you read it again. Yeah. There's a lot of different symbols you can add to this after you get the hang of it. You get it? Maybe someday Miss McGinn will let somebody else who wasn't part of our group today maybe sit with a partner and you could do that. Oh, let me show you one more thing for as you get to be a better and better reader. You don't have to, let's say you get 50 words correct and you only make a couple of mistakes, but you want your friend to help you notice where you're making mistakes. Don't put all the checks, because you'll have 50 checks. Just do this. Write what the book says, write what the friend said. Write what the book said, write what the friend said. And then at the end you can say, "You did so well, you got 50 words correct, but these are the words that we need to talk about, where you made a mistake." Like that. And it's really important to be respectful, correct?
Yeah.
You don't want to make your friend feel embarrassed or feel stupid, because we're all helping each other. We're all in this together. Even adults are making mistakes sometimes when they read. And if my friend, Miss McGinn told me, "Miss Bloom, you're so stupid. Don't you know that word is blah, blah, blah? I mean, how old are you? You've been reading for blah, blah years." I'm not telling you how many years. That would be so rude. It would make me feel like I'm such a loser. I'm never going to read out loud in front of anybody again. So, we don't want to do that. We want to be respectful. We want to help each other. I'm just curious, who would be interested in trying this sometime? Raise your hand if you'd be interested in reading to a friend sometime. Have them do a running record for you. Okay, put your hands down. Now, who would be interested in being the one to do the running record for a friend? Yeah, it's actually, it's a great tool. And sometimes you can have, let's say Aiden reads this book again tomorrow. She might have even a better score in the end because she's going to make fewer mistakes or maybe more self-corrections. Got it? Now you know how to be the teacher too, the student and the teacher.